All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of our Candidate Highlights. Today, I am thrilled, and we are thrilled to have a very special guest with us, Shannon Crawley. Shannon is someone both Jessica and I know very well from our time working together at Fifth Third Bank, and we've had the pleasure of witnessing firsthand the incredible talent that she brings and her dedication. And she's had such a remarkable career journey, spans over 20 years, wealth of experience in areas such as change management, learning and development, project and program leadership, and facilities transformation. Shannon's ability to lead and execute across these diverse areas is truly remarkable. And whether she's driving large scale cultural change, optimizing business processes, or developing strategic learning initiatives, Shannon has consistently delivered impactful results. Her focus on building trust, fostering collaboration, and creating solutions that last make her a unique and valuable asset to any organization. And this interview is a bit different from your typical job interview. Today, we're focusing on Shannon's strengths, what motivates her, the value she brings to the table, and the types of challenges that she's passionate about solving. Our goal is to give listeners a deeper understanding of what makes Shannon an outstanding candidate and how she can help organizations thrive. So with that, we're going to jump in. Shannon, you've achieved so much throughout your career. Can you tell us what inspired your career transition and what you're hoping to explore next?
Thank you. Well, first, I want to say thank you for having me. It's so great to be able to have this time with you and just have the conversation. I would say my transition is definitely work in progress right now. Most of my career has been in the banking and financial industry, and I have had an opportunity to be able to, through my banking and financial industry career, be able to touch on and work in other different areas of the bank. And my most recent one really was going into the space of program management and change management. And so moving into that, I really think gave me a fuller view of all the moving parts, all the bells and whistles, all the things that are needed to be able to execute and deliver projects, whether they're large scale system projects or whether it's a soft skills training. I've been able to see it all, really taking foundational pieces and building something that is tangible and lasting for our customers, for our stakeholders, and most importantly for the employees. So that's been where my transition has really taken me.
Nice, nice. I mean, so you've had a lot of experience across multiple fields, project leadership, change management, business transformation, I mean, I worked with you in L&D and in different spaces, throughout and at Fifth Third. So which of these skills do you enjoy using the most and how have they shaped your career?
I would probably say the change management. Change is hard. And when you have to take a step back and you have to look at it from not just a process change view or a system change, people have to be able to adapt to that so they can execute and deliver on behalf of that change. And so when I had the opportunity to be certified through ProSci as a certified change management practitioner in 2019, it really opened my eyes up to the various methodologies that are needed in order to be able to execute and deliver on change that is sustainable. And the change management piece of it, I think, again, sometimes we get so bogged down on, oh, we've got to make sure that this process gets executed the right way. And, this system does this. But the people part is what I think tends to get missed. And that is the part that really, really gets me going and that I'm passionate about.
Oh, the people part. I'm on the fence. I go either way when it comes to change. Sometimes I'm all for it when I can see the immediate benefit of it. But when I have like my own doubts about, I'm a resistor. Like someone comes, oh, hey, and I'm like, no. But even just in working with you and seeing how you do things, both Jessica and I have seen you build really strong relationships, so I feel like it's easy for you to kind of not schmooze people, but you really have a way of like talking with them and convincing them. You build those relationships to facilitate people to get buy-in and change, which is I think is fantastic. So um, can you tell us a story maybe where those skills are essential to the success of a project?
So I do. And I'm going to, it has nothing to do with a system. It actually has to do with physical space, the office space.
Okay.
During my time in my previous role, we embarked on a 5-year plan to redesign what the work environment was going to look like. And for some people, they look at that as, oh, it's just going to be some new furniture, it's going to be some new carpets, some new paint. And it wasn't. We were fundamentally changing how employees work when they come into the office. And you'd be surprised, excuse me, you'd be surprised at how space can actually bring collaborative synergies together. It can foster teamwork. It can really help you put out results faster. But the biggest challenge was we were also integrating and introducing new technology. And I never had seen so many people be so resistant from going from a standalone desk computer to a laptop. But that's exactly what it was. And so for me, going through that was not just understanding the physical changes. And when I say physical changes, the physical work area that was changing. It was also wanting to understand what this technology was going to do. How is this going to make that person's job easier? We're talking about mobility and giving them flexibility. What does that really look like? And I am a firm believer in, I want to be able to live in or walk what I'm about to change for people. So I have the credibility to be able to say, hey, I know this is going to feel hard, but I've done it. Let me show you how I was able to overcome some of those things. But in addition to that, also being open to hearing what they feel those challenges are. So then we can also make sure that we are addressing those along the way. People need to feel that you're not doing something to them. They want to feel like they have a voice and it's a collaborative change that's getting ready to happen. So really helping people to understand that all change is hard, but walking them through the process and really helping them to be a part of it, letting them feel like they have a voice in what's happening, I think made a huge difference.
Yeah, it did for me. I was part of that change, and I was like, I have an office, and now I'm giving up my office, right? It's like I got to be out on the open floor with everyone else. And at first, it was a little like, that's weird, like I'm used to having my privacy and having those types of conversations. Now I have to go to these special rooms and have those meetings. But I tell you what, I enjoyed the collaboration that I had with people that I wouldn't normally have conversations with. And the ideas and the creativity and the things that came out of that was really great. So it was a little intimidating at first, but I remember being handed some great resources. This is why and what and that really helped me through the process too.
Yes. It's that whole what's in it for me. So you have to help people understand what's in it for them. If I'm going to give up X, Y, and Z, what am I getting in return? And so I really, really had to spend some time really focusing on how I can make that messaging really clear, but also making sure that they felt supported as they were working and transitioning into that new environment as well.
Yeah. I feel like you had an edge on that type of communication with your learning development background, being able to say, what are the real objectives? What are people going to need to be doing, right? And putting that together. So that was great. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about some of the current industry challenges today. So, today, everything is the business landscape is just evolving so quickly. And so, what are some of the challenges that organizations are facing that align with your expertise? And then, how do you help companies overcome those challenges?
One of the biggest challenges that I see today is the digital transformation that we're going through. How I mean, that is absolutely something that's here. I don't see it going away. Um, you've got a multitude of companies going to different platforms. I mean, I see Workday all the time, or it's a new Oracle platform. Everything is around how can we, you know, digitize the work? How can we make it run and move more efficiently? And where there's nothing wrong with that, I still think that you still have to tend with the people part of it because you still need people to execute and to run business. But I would say that's a big challenge. I also think still managing hybrid and remote work, even though we are starting to see a lot of organizations really push back or say, on this date, we want everybody back in the office physically, or you're starting to see some of the remote options start to decline a little bit.
Mhm.
I still think that there's space for that. But it's how are you able to, with remote work or even hybrid work, still make the work environment, still make the organizational culture still feel present, no matter where the person is working at. And then I think just enhancing the customer experience. And when I say customer, yes, we have our external customer, but I also look at as employees as our customers too as well. I always felt that. I always felt that my customer was not just my vendors or my third party partners that I was working with. It was also the employees that work and have to, be involved in some of the transformation that's happening. So those are some of the challenges where I see where I fit into that is taking the expertise that I've had over my career in running programs, running projects, executing and delivering on, change management, um, changes and improvements. That's where I see myself being able to add value, really wanting to understand what that organizational goal is and how I can help them meet that through my previous experience working on different scale projects
Yeah,
along my
yeah.
career.
You touched on some like deep cultural changes that organizations are facing today, right? Remote, hybrid, bringing people back into the office, and just working through what that means. That's like a lot of people are not happy about these types of changes. You happen to have you have a lot of deep expertise in cultural change, especially leading Fifth through so many transformations that they have gone through as well. So what are some practical ways that you're ensuring successful adoption of like new initiatives, especially when resistance is high?
I think one of the important things to do, and I will admit we weren't doing this initially. It was one of those aha moments that we we were hit with after we had a couple of projects up under our belt. Was really doing a readiness or needs assessment with
Mm.
leaders. Um, we really needed our leaders, mid-level, senior level, executive leaders to really understand the magnitude of the change that we were taking them through. And again, I'm going back to my time there when we were redesigning and creating a new office work environment. Again, that may seem so minute or insignificant to a lot of people, but when you think about banking and the financial industry, it's just a very traditional type of work environment and culture. And when you're changing that and you're really starting to peel back the layers, there's a lot of anxiety and uncertainty that comes with that. And so being able to build out, some training, some leadership training to our leaders to say, hey, we need you to be modeling the way. We need you out front. So your teams and other folks will be able to see and say, oh, if he or she is like able to adapt to this and they're able to still be successful and we're still able to execute and hit our numbers and exceed on this project or this initiative, then I guess it's not as bad and I think I can do it too. And that's all about, you know, breaking down some of those resistors too, as well. People want to be able to see that those who are in leadership positions are adapting and modeling the way as well.
Yeah. It's hard when you have a leader maybe that says one thing like, hey, like, we're going to do this, but I'm exempt from that thing,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
But when you see a leader walking around with their own laptop and going into the different rooms,
Yes,
doing all that kind of stuff, you're like, oh, okay. It drives a cultural shift all
it does.
around.
It
Yeah.
does. It does.
Awesome. Can you walk us through maybe like a recent project or transformation effort that you led? What problem was the organization facing, and what was your approach to solving that problem?
So this isn't, it's not like recent, like within this year, but one of the things that I had to take a look at was as we were working through the workplace transformation, you know, how could we best help our employees understand the why of the change and again, what's in it for them? And I do remember that when we first started on this journey, we were utilizing e-learning courses that we could push out, you know,
Yeah.
to people. Because who doesn't love a e-learning course? You know, people like,
Right.
you know, we already have to take them anyway for compliance. But what we found was we really it wasn't meeting the employees where we wanted, you know, it wasn't meeting them where we needed it to be. And so I had to take a step back and say, okay, the content is great. Maybe the vehicle or how we're pushing it out, maybe we can come up with something different. And so it was really taking the content in the curriculum and building out almost kind of an onboarding of what a person can expect as we are getting ready to move you into this new space. And so I was able to condense it into like our like lunch and learns. And again, everything was topic based. So if you wanted to know about the new technology, but you didn't care about what the furniture was going to look like, you could attend that and get everything that you need. So it was really creating a self-service type of platform, but it was live because it was me talking. And so from there, you're building that engagement, you're answering questions. People feel more connected to what is getting ready to happen to them versus, and again, nothing against e-learning courses because I think they're awesome, but it is something different when you're able to have something live in real time, somebody giving you that information and you're able to have that Q&A, that conversation with them. And it really does help prepare them so that then when they're on site, they're like, wow, everything that she said I was going to be getting, I'm getting it, you know, or she said, this is what it's going to look like. This is what it's going to look like. So yeah, just taking a look at how we could scale it down and be able to offer things out to folks that was real time and that was time.
Yeah. I remember being part of that and being up in the room talking about here's where your laptop, your monitors, and and after I saw it and was able to like touch and feel it, like I felt so much better. I was like, this is going to be good. Like I went from a skeptic to I'm sold, and then I became like a cheerleader promoter. Like, come on, guys, this is going to be great. Like these great rooms, everything. It was that part really flipped a switch for me and how I viewed that transformation.
And the other benefit that I would say to that real quickly too, because things were always evolving and changing, it allowed me to be able to keep the content fresh and current. And so if we were moving to a larger monitor versus dual monitors, you know, you're able to offer out that information based off of how things are evolving. Again, whether it was with the technology, whether it was with new AV, whether it was, oh, we're going to put in a different type of chair than what we did on maybe a project from a previous year. So really allowed me to keep everything fresh and current. So people felt, okay, I'm not getting this dated antiquated information. I'm actually getting something that's real time and that I'm going to be able to see and feel when I get in there.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. Uh, the memories, the brings
I
brings
know.
So let's look ahead though, right? So that future impact, I mean, like all your experience, everything, and what you bring to the table, right? So we want to look ahead and what kind of impact are you hoping to make in your next role? And are there any specific industries or challenges, maybe some company cultures that you feel especially drawn to?
So as long as I've been in banking and financial, and as much as it's near and dear to my heart, um, I am open to exploring other industries because I do feel that the skill sets that I have with program management, project management, change management, those skills are transferable. Every organization, every industry is going through something. They're evolving to, you know, do a cultural change, people change, system change. And so you're always going to need people that bring that expertise and that breadth to what they're trying to execute and deliver on. So I wouldn't necessarily say that I'm eyeballing a specific industry. I'm very open, and that is something that is very different for me because I always thought that I would stay in banking and in the financial industry forever. But as you start getting out there and you really start meeting people and you start seeing just some of the changes and the challenges, it's like, oh, well, I could go into the IT space, or I could go into the HR space, or and still be able to apply those skill sets there. Um, and then in terms of what I feel that I bring, I love problem solving and I love seeing people be able to do their best work. And I think a lot of that comes from the change management part of it, just really helping people to understand the what's in it for me. Um, Really listening to people, being empathetic, um, really rolling up my sleeves and trying to understand what your strategic goals are, what those challenges are, and okay, now how can we best meet people where they're at, regardless of where their level is in an organization.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of organizations, doesn't matter the industry, they face the same
Yes,
problems, right? So, like you're saying, skill set you have is really transferable into anything, any industry. They face those challenges as well. So, um, just your breadth of expertise, like you could step into any industry, right? It's learning the nuances of the industry, but
yes,
the problems are the same.
yes, for
Yeah.
sure, for sure.
So, what advice would you give hiring managers, leaders, who are navigating some complex changes? How can they set their organizations up for success?
I think having a very clear plan to communicate what those changes, what those challenges are. I think the more we're able to communicate upfront to people, the better. Um, I think sometimes when we think about um, any type of business transformation, it's almost like we want to be able to deliver a finished product and say, okay, now it's all here. But I think you have to be able to communicate clear and help people understand what the focus is and what the goal is and what it is that you're trying to deliver. So being able to communicate change early and often, I think is important. That's how you get buy-in. That's how you help people understand, okay, well, is this going to change what I'm doing today? And if so, what do we need to do differently? What are the risks involved? I think that's really important. Um, I think our leaders need to make sure that they're giving their teams the tools that they need and being able to meet everybody where they're at. That's the one thing I will say that I truly took away from what I did with our workplace transformations is understanding that everybody has different levels of how they take in information, how they retain information. And so being able to have something that's not a one size fits all, because not our minds are not a one size fits all. You have to be able to meet people where they're at. And then the other thing that I would love to see leaders do, which I feel like we've kind of gotten away from that, is investing in more training and education, particularly anyone who's going to be in a team lead, again, mid-level, senior level manager. Like that is such a key group that tends to get missed. It's you have your you may have your entry level, you give them what they need, and then there's this gap, and then everything jumps to like your senior and your executives. But there's this big pool of people that I think are missed. And so working with those emerging leaders to give them the tools and the resources, that in the end will also help to be able to lead change, because now you've got this army of people, these ambassadors that can help speak to that as well.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Communication. I mean, I was part of an organization once where things were changing all the time, but nobody knew what was happening or changing, and everyone just felt really left out. They felt isolated or not part of the organization, and it was not just that the change was happening, but their cultural internally, like it was just turmoil. Everybody, like employee engagement scores were all shot and everything, and everyone was like, oh man, it's because communication was so bad. It was so poor, right? And then the same thing, the group of managers that you were talking about that have the power to be ambassadors and everything, because they weren't informed or didn't know, right? Like they were detractors as well, because they're like, I don't know what's happening and stuff like that. So you have a really, very strong points around communication, and then taking that middle management and converting them, making them your ambassadors. Like that's really powerful.
Yes.
Yeah. Awesome. So thank you for that. And as we're going to wrap up here, just maybe a personal message from you. If there's one thing you'd want listeners to take away from our conversation today, what would that be?
It would be to discover what your skill sets are, tap into the passion of what those skill sets are, and continue to grow those. My passion, yes, I feel like I have three buckets. I have my program, my project, and my change management. But I'm passionate about change management. It's just something about it. I think I always equate it to when I see a home improvement show, how you're taking something from nothing, and then when it's done, it's a beautiful piece of art, or it's, a new piece of, furniture or something like that. It's just something about being a part of the evolution of something that starts here, but then you're able to like really, really be able to see the whole entire phase of how it gets built out and how you deliver it. So, tapping into what your skill sets are, finding out what those passions are around those skill sets, and just continuing to grow those, mature them, and also don't be afraid to promote yourself. That's another thing. Definitely promote yourself, promote what you can do and what you can offer. It's important.
That's awesome. Change management is such a powerful tool in an organization. And when it's missing, you don't realize just how much it impacts your organization negatively. When it's done and it's done right, like it can change your culture, it changes your employee engagement, it changes your efficiency, your effectiveness, and how you're working. So I know just in seeing how you work, it's like you get to see not only the process from beginning to end, but then you see the impact that it has on the employee. And that's like extremely rewarding, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I would always tell people, when we would come in and we would announce that we're getting ready to do a new floor, or we're getting ready to build out a new space in a new building. I would have three buckets of people. I would have those who are like super excited. This is awesome. We need this change. And then you have those in the middle that's kind of like, yeah, I guess I'm not really sure how I feel. And then you have the ones that were just like, absolutely, this is horrible. I'm against it. it's amazing to me, again, going back to the communication and the change management part, how if you give people what they need and you meet them where they're at, I would see them move on the scale.
Mm.
So the people that were like against it would tell me, like, send me emails or call me and say, this is awesome. This is like the best thing ever. And then the ones who were super excited going towards the end, then they would start feeling anxious and nervous and then end up being on the other end. So it's
Yeah.
amazing how you see the different ebbs and flows of how people adapt to change. But I always tell folks change is constant. We cannot stop it. We cannot control it. And in some cases it's necessary, but what can we do to make it manageable and make it a smooth smooth
Yeah.
transition to change. That's always my ultimate goal. And if I'm able to do that and I'm able to see that after a project, then to me that means that I met the mark, and in some cases I exceeded it.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you, Shannon, sharing your
Thank
insights
you.
with us
Thank
today.
you for the time. I appreciate it.
This has been wonderful, and I've missed chatting with you. It's like I see you at the office and in between and everything. But this has been just a nice refresher, catch up, and also to be able to just sit down and go through. And I think this is a little bit different for me in the interviews because I've seen the impact you had, and I've experienced it myself personally, like what you have done to bring people through. And I'm one of those people that was in the middle and I moved over, because I was like, this is great, and how it all worked out and everything. So you've definitely had an impact on my professional experience in a very, very positive way, and I'm grateful for that. And so for all of those who are listening today, who see an opportunity to work with Shannon or maybe has ideas for her next career step, her LinkedIn profile will be in the description below. So make sure you click on that and connect with Shannon. And again, can't say enough about you, Shannon. Just really happy to have this time with you. And
thank you so much. Thank you so much for the opportunity. It's been great. It's been great. Thank you.
Awesome. All right. We will see you all next time. And thank you all for watching.